up? Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Mr. Prince with SoundCloud, SoundClick. It's your boy Tone 202. And I'm about to talk about a lot of stuff that people have already talked about, but I'm going to use a different perspective on it. Now, I like to open up with, I'm not a scientist. I'm just not necessarily a conspiracy theorist. I'm just a guy who is just looking for knowledge. And this is an open forum for anybody who has knowledge and wants to share it. If you have constructive criticism, I welcome that. I don't welcome the name calling and all that other stuff, but if you want to check anything I've said, I always give reference to, somewhere on the internet or the Bible or something. So, I want to talk about Devil's Tower, but everybody is out there already saying that Devil's Tower is a tree. Scientists are trying to say that Devil's Tower is magma that rose up like this, where nowhere on Earth does a magma flow look like this. Nowhere. They're trying to say that it's rock, is one of three types of rock. Nowhere on Earth does rock look like this. So, just within scientific perspective and common sense, you can deduce that Devil's Tower is most likely was some type of tree. Even the way it's formed, the hexagon shapes on top, so on and so forth. So people are welcome to speculate against that. That's fine with me. But when we start looking at materials and looking at evidence in materials, it's just hard not to believe that this was some type of tree. Mind you, Devil's Tower is almost a mile high. It's a little over 5,000 feet. Now, with that in mind, I would like to draw people's attention to the Bible. Now, when we look at the Bible and we read about different events that happen in the Bible, one of the major events that happen in the Bible is the Tower of Babel. The whole idea of the Tower of Babel was basically to build a city and a tower that went up to heaven. Now, this is a drawn replica of what the Tower of Babel is, but you can clearly see that these people did not bring material to the tower and start building it. They cut into the tower and built what was in it. Just like taking a bunch of clay and then forming something is what they did. Instead of building a house that you bring the materials to the land, set the land, and then erect the house. That's not what this is. This is built out of a structure that they put here because you can still see some of it. Let's just assuming that this drawing is a proper depiction of what actually happened, even in guesstimation. But then when you look at the size of the Tower of Babel and at the circumference and the height, you can look here and see that it's above what we call, or going into what we call the deck or the ceiling, for those of you who are in the flight, navigation, and all that. So a good explanation of it is when you get on a plane and go to travel from one state to another, the jet goes up 30,000 feet, 5 miles up or so, and you're above the clouds. This is not 5 miles up. So there's different kind of clouds, the cumulus, nimbus, so on and so forth. Low flying clouds, high flying clouds. Nonetheless, this is not 5 miles up. 5 miles up would be, shoot, I don't know how many feet that is. It would be what, somewhere like 20,000 feet or more, a little over 20,000, 30,000 feet, something like that. 5 miles up. Devil's Tower, once again, is a little under a mile high. The Tower of Babel, when it was constructed, it was 7,000 plus feet, like 7,200. Let me ask Siri.
1,063 feet tall.
That isn't what I asked you.
The height of Tower of Babel is about 7,287 feet.
7,287 feet, which is a little over a mile. Okay, let's look at how tall was Devil's Tower.
112 feet tall.
Okay, so there you have it. 5,112 feet. Okay, so I'm going somewhere with this. So there that is. Now let's get into a little scripture. This is the book of Genesis, chapter 11. Now the whole world had one language and a common speech. As people moved eastward, they found a plain in Shinar and settled there. I don't know where Shinar is. I need to look that up. They said to one another, "Come, let us make bricks and bake them thoroughly." They used bricks instead of stone and tar for mortar. They said, "Come, let's set us buildings ourselves a city. Let us build ourselves a city." I'm sorry. With a tower that reaches to the heavens, so that we may make a name for ourselves. Okay. So with a tower that reaches to the heavens. Okay. Otherwise, we will be scattered over the face of the whole earth. Okay. So the object was they wanted to build a tower to the heavens. Now, in the Bible, there's more than one heaven. There's heavenlies, heavenly bodies, but there's more than one heaven. The devil is not sitting in the ground somewhere. He has a heaven himself, okay? He has a heavenly realm where he operates. There is more than one heaven, okay? And there's most likely there are three. Now you guys are going to ask me where that's at, and I'm going to have to go and research it for you. But nonetheless, these beings, these people, were trying to build a tower to the heavens. Now, if we read on, we see, so the Lord scattered them from there over all the earth and stopped building the city. Okay, let me go back. But the Lord came down to see the city. So the Lord came down to see the city and the tower that they were building, the people in the tower that they were building. The Lord said, "If as one people speaking the same language, they have begun to do this, then nothing they plan to do will be impossible for them." Okay, so they wanted to build a tower towards the heavens, right? This is all speculation, people. This is just what I'm just thinking. They wanted to build a tower towards the heaven. They wanted to build a tower towards where God is. God came down from heaven. That's what it says in the scriptures. Now, let's just look at it like this. If I want to build a structure to get me from one place to another, there's a few things that has to happen. One of them is I have to know what I need as far as building material, correct? Two is I have to know how much of that material I need, meaning I have to measure this distance from where I am to where I'm going in order to even start constructing it. You don't start building something and you're just not sure of how tall, how wide, how much weight it is. You get all of that together before you take on a major task, especially a task that is well over 7,000 feet. This is over a mile high in the sky, and it wasn't finished. All right, so I'm going somewhere with this. So the Lord came down and saw the city, and then he saw the tower that they were building. And he said, if they're able to speak the language with one mind, anything is possible. Now, if I want to stop somebody from coming to my house, there's a few things I have to already have in mind. One, they know how to get to my house. They either know the directions, they know how far it is, they know how to travel to get there, they know exactly how to get from point A to point B. All right, now, with that in mind, we have to think, did the people who were building the Tower of Babel know how to get to heaven? They were building towards the heavenly. And if so, God came down and saw this. Why would God stop these people from trying to get to heaven if he wasn't sure if they could get there or not? This tells me a few things. Not only did the people know how far it is from earth to heaven, they also, God also knew that it was possible for them to build this tower to his house. This is, you can only deduce that from what it says there and what actually happened. I'm not going to try to stop you from getting to my house if you don't know where I live. If somebody on the internet is like, I'm going to come to your house, you know how people troll all the time, I'm coming to your house, and you're like, you don't even know where I live. It's a good chance they don't. I'm going to find you. They don't know where you live. God came down. What does that tell you? God made an effort. He made a physical effort to stop these people. He didn't sit up on his throne and say, you know what, I see what they're doing. So what? They'll never succeed. It doesn't matter. Let them do what they want. They're not coming to my house. He saw what they were doing. And he was like, that's not going to happen. I'm going to change all of you and make you all speak a different language. Why would God do that? Why? Why would he do that? Okay. Now, you want to get any further into this, you got to look at what's called the firmament. Some people speculate that the firmament is water. And this, according to the Bible, that's pretty much what it is. Now, let's do this. Let's look at the firmament. The firmament is biblical cosmology. The firmament is the structure above the atmosphere, conceived as a vast solid dome. According to Genesis creation narrative, God created the firmament to separate the waters above the earth from the waters below the earth, which appeared in the Vulgate, a late 4th century Latin translation of the Bible. Some people speculate that the firmament is 11 miles up. Okay, let's do this again. Let's just speculate that these people knew exactly what they were doing when they took on the Tower of Babel. And the reason why I keep referring back to Devil's Tower is because they needed materials to build this tower. It was obvious. Look, Devil's Tower is a tree, people. A tree that was cut off. What did they do with all the rest of this tree? Why would they need such a colossal tree and cut it up? For what? What do we do with trees, people? We build with them. This was also a tree at one time, just like Devil's Tower. It's a good chance that somewhere in the world that some of this material was either chopped down or torn down or mined, and you can find different places where you see large structures were mined out. Now, this is a mining hole, one of the largest in the world. I think it's in Russia. It's so big that you can't fly over it. A helicopter goes over here, it's going to get sucked in. Look at these striations. Look at how all the lines are vertical to each other, meaning there was a layer, meaning this is the bottom. Go back here. This is what we think was a mountain. We think this was man-made like this. Look at these lines. People, God does not build in straight lines. He just doesn't. Show me one structure that God built that's in a straight line, and I will tell you that that is man-made. This right here, look, these trees 30, 40 feet tall. These trees. Nothing compared to this. This is a towering structure. Look. What's even more fascinating is look at these lines. You can tell that it was mined. They're even. And then the space between them. This is not a 3-foot drop, 3-foot drop. This is more like 30 feet drop, 30 feet drop, 30 feet drop. And then when you come over here and look at these structures, you think these structures are all separate. Wrong. This was all one structure. Look at the line. Even, going right into here, even. This was one structure, people. Look at all the lines. Even. They're vertical to each other. This is not a God-made structure. Not only that, the rubble, or what we would like to think is rubble, the material is sliding down here. So there's a good chance. And look how the side of the face of it is. This is several hundred feet tall. It's probably as tall as, it's probably several thousand feet tall. And it looks cut off, just like this does. It's a good chance that this was one huge structure and it towered in the sky several miles, just like we think Devil's Tower did. What were these people building? I'm just taking a guess and saying that they were trying to get back to the one place they knew they couldn't go to. There has always been war in heaven. There are more books in the Bible than what the Bible actually shows. The Bible is only one part of the holy text that the Council of Nicaea put together during the time of the Roman king Constantine, who was the first Christian king or emperor, however you want to say it, in the West. There were two empires, two Roman empires. The one in the east fell, the one in the west survived, and is still going today in different areas and in different ways. But nonetheless, getting back to the Tower of Babel, these people needed material to build this 7,000-foot structure that wasn't finished. If you look at the World Bank looks just like this. That's a whole nother conversation. But nonetheless, they needed material. Okay? What were they building? These are all in straight lines. Look how this is capped off in straight lines. Look, people. This is the bottom of the hole. This is the bottom of the hole. How far do you think this is up? You see what I mean? This is so big and colossal that you can't fly a plane over it. I'm telling you, this was one object. This is not three different mountains we're looking at. This was one mined object. It was huge. Why were they digging for this material? They were trying to go back to the heavens. The scriptures clearly say that. But the Lord came down to see the city and the tower the people were building. The Lord said, not I said, the Lord said, if as one people speak in the same language, they have begun to do this, then nothing, which means God said it is possible for them to get to his house. He said nothing. Nothing they planned, meaning they planned to build the Tower of Babel. Through great effort, they planned to build the Tower of Babel. To do nothing they plan to do will be impossible for them. Listen, people, that still reigns true today. This is not something that is no longer in existence. If we plan to build something like this, we can. Now here's the even the kick in the pants. People think that heaven is just some spiritual realm. According to what we're reading here, heaven is not just a spiritual realm. It is a physical place that is measured from heaven to earth. I mean, just wrap your head around that. Listen, in the Bible, God had he set a few examples of men who did not die and they went to heaven. I think Enoch was one, and I think Isaiah or one of the prophets, he was another. God snatched him up with a chariot and he went into heaven, and that was it. He didn't die. Now, the scripture says it's once appointed for a man to live and then to die. But the scripture doesn't say you have to die in order to get into heaven. There's nowhere in the scriptures where it says that. It doesn't say you have to die. It says it's once appointed for a man to live and then to die and then to be judged. But it isn't like God isn't saying, you know what, I'll just come and get you right now. You don't have to die. Boom, you go right into heaven. Heaven is a physical place, people. Now, if the firmament is 11 miles up, and and look, here's what's really crazy. We're like in a fishbowl. Like the earth isn't some round sphere spinning through space. That's not what it is. According to the Bible, it says that the earth does not move. It's what the scriptures say. So just drink that in. If these people were building a tower to go to heaven, they knew exactly how far heaven was. They were going to and what's really crazy is, you know there's more than one heaven because it said the heavens. There's more than one. There are heavenly realms. I mean, it just bakes your noodle because you don't hear preachers talking about this. It gives you a whole different concept of what exactly we are to God, where exactly we are to God, which is even more scary, and what kind of world we're living in. If the firmament is 11 miles above our head, then that means that, listen, there are recordings of Obama saying that we have just now built, what do you say? We just now built, we're building rockets to get us to lower Earth orbit. Okay, lower Earth orbit. Okay, let's do this. Lower Earth orbit. For one, the moon is not in lower Earth orbit. Let's just cut that out right now. Satellites and stuff, that's lower Earth orbit. You go in the stratosphere and yada, yada, yada. You go 5 miles up, that's where airplanes fly. You keep going, then you have where your rocket ships are, where NASA has gone. But we have not gotten past of lower Earth orbit. We've never been to the moon, people. The moon landing is a farce. We have not gotten out of lower Earth orbit. None of us have. None of us. When you go so far up, you're going to run into a solid wall of water. Show me a NASA picture that has water. I'm just saying, show it to me. We're not spinning at 66,066,000. We're not doing that. That's not what we're doing. We're sitting still. That's what we're doing. We are still, people. These people were building a tower. And there's a good chance it wasn't the only one. Listen, have you ever seen the cartoon Hercules? And Zeus, and the whole object is Hercules and Zeus' son, and he has to stop the character played by James Woods, the devil, from getting back to Olympus, where he was exiled out of, and he was sent into Tartarus, living in Sheol, what the Bible's called Sheol or hell. For one, the devil does not live there. The scriptures often talk about how, listen, the scriptures say, and the sons of men presented themselves to God. And the devil also presented himself. This is in the book of Job. And God said to the devil, where are you coming from? And the devil said, roaming to and from the earth. So let's get that in perspective. This means the devil is traveling from one place to another. But it also means that it's possible to travel from one place to another. Because who was beside him when he presented himself? The sons of man. How did they do that? How did they? See, there's a big disconnect here. There's a big disconnect. When that flood happened and God killed the Nephilim and the Rephaim, why did he do that? It's not because they were terraforming the earth and they were doing, blood sacrifices and that wasn't the only thing. You got to understand that there was a war in heaven. When Satan took 1/3 of the angels, there was a terrible... Listen, that didn't just happen in the book of Genesis and then all of a sudden God decided to make the earth. He said, I'm gonna take 7 days or 7,000 and I'm gonna go ahead and make the earth. That's not... No. There was events that happened long before that. There was a war that happened long before that, people. Not to mention Adam and Eve. Listen, Adam and Eve were not the first people here. There have been people here millions of years before Adam and Eve. There was an ancient Chinese dynasty found 13,000 years ago. The book of the Bible talks about Adam and Eve, but when you predate, when you look at the dates of where Adam and Eve was on this earth, that was 7,000 years ago. There was ancient dynasties long before that. Listen, Adam and Eve had 2 sons. Well, actually, Eve had 2 sons. Adam had 1. Okay? Cain and Abel. Abel was Adam's son. Cain was Eve's son by the serpent, the devil. Look it up. Nonetheless, when Cain killed Abel, it said that he fled. Where did he go to? If those were the only 4 people walking on the earth, where did Cain go to? They said he went to the city of Nod. How is there already a city there? Just some of you Bible scholars tell me, how's there already a city there if there's only 4 people running around? And they said he hid among the people. The preachers don't tell this. They don't tell you that there were creatures here a long time ago. And then we find this Lucy, and this Lucy is so many thousands of years older than the Bible, and all this other stuff. Now they just found a man who was supposed to be 3.1 million years old, the bones of the... Come on, they find redhead giants everywhere, and now they just found a live redhead giant, and they killed him in Iraq, hiding in the mountains. Didn't that remind you of something? The Europeans who came out of the Caucasus Mountains that was surrounding the Red Sea, that's a whole nother subject, but nonetheless, it's in the book of Deuteronomy. And what was also in the Caucasus Mountains? Giants. And they were killed by the Idumeans, which are white people. Idumeans or Indonesians. And God had the Idumeans kill them. That's a whole other subject. We'll cover that. But nonetheless, there were giants in the lands in the days of Noah and thereafter. I'm just saying, people. I'm just saying. We have to really look at the Bible. And we have to think. Why would God try to stop somebody from building something if, for one, let's just say that they just felt like doing it? Why would they feel like building something I'm just gonna build a 7,000-foot tower that was incomplete. I'm just gonna start building it for nothing. Why? There was a purpose there. There's a good chance this wasn't the only tower. Listen, all over the place we seen that. For one, there's more than one Stonehenge. We see giant bricks. We see monoliths everywhere. We see pyramids and all that everywhere. And we're wondering who built these giant monoliths. You go to Mexico, you see them. Listen, there are pyramids here in the United States. Egyptian-style pyramids. Here in the United States. And you're not allowed to go anywhere near them. Nowhere near them. I mean, it's just so much. Anyways, it's an open forum. You guys are welcome to chime in. But I'm telling you that you're not on a spinning sphere going 66 million miles an hour. We've never been to the moon. We've never gotten out of lower Earth orbit. If we put our mind to something and plan on it, we can do anything according to the Bible. And the Tower of Babel was one example of people or beings trying to get back to heaven. Regardless of what race of beings they were. The Devil's Tower and all these other large structures, these structures, they're not mountains. They're trees. We've been lied to. We need to wake up. We need to figure out exactly what's going on. We need to be able to talk to some of these red-haired dragons that they keep finding and then toting off as if we're never going to find out. Why can't we talk to them? Why can't you guys keep them alive? They killed an American soldier already. The firmament is above our head, people. That's what's separating us from heaven, according to the scriptures. There's water above our head. Water. There's a space, and then there's water. And then there's heaven. Heaven is highly attainable in a physical form. Just saying. I welcome anybody to correct me or speculate with me. I welcome speculation. I love it. I don't mind talking about stuff like this, but it just blows my whole head how we never get the proper information we need from these preachers. We never get any direct answers. We just get hooping and hollering and give me your money. We don't know who we really are. Some of us don't even know what we're capable of. According to the Bible, you're capable of anything. And according to what we see around on our earth, there's more to it than meets the eye. I know that's a Transformers reference, but we've been lied to. NASA's been lying to us. Our presidents have been lying to us. The one astronaut who went into space was studying aliens. She wasn't studying aliens that came from another country. She was studying aliens. And she said the earth must be warned. There's something going on, people. And I really don't know how to prepare for it other than to stay prayed up. To keep seeking God's face. To be prepared when you leave this earth. That's it. It's so big. It's like, where are you going to run to? It's so big. It's bigger. It's so colossal, people, that you just got to know Jesus Christ, man. You got to know Yahshua. You got to know who he is. You got to learn about the disciples and how they lived and died. You have to. Because, listen, you can only cover up our eyes for so long. Curious minds will find out. And that's all this is me being curious. All right? The Tower of Babel was going to heaven, and God knew it. The firmament is 11 miles up, and after that, it's heaven. Your boy Tone 202. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe.